So much. We are live, and I always forget to say this, but we are live on both LinkedIn and YouTube. For anyone able to join us live here or is able to join us or just watch this on replay, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. I am so excited. If you are with us, you guys know like what I'm about to say, but I just have to say it in case it's someone's first time joining us. If you're with us and you can hear us loud and clear, we absolutely want you to let us know. um, I'm always paranoid that I could be rambling on mute and nobody can hear anything we're saying. So I know that you can hear me. So if you can drop a thing in there for us, I'm so excited. I'm always excited, but this is particularly unique type of excitement. I love talking to PGY2 residents because I just feel like nobody gets a PGY2 by accident. Um, I have so much respect for the people who go this extra mile and invest in themselves in this way to just go one step further because they've kind of identified this as the next logical step for them. I think they have a lot to offer for anybody, no matter where you are in your academic career. Today, we have Dr. Ryan Norton. I'm so excited that you're here with us today. And tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are, and what residency program you're currently in, please.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So I'm Ryan Norton. I'm the current PGY2 in the combined PGY1, PGY2 program with Premise Health and the University of South Carolina. So our program is it's slightly it's unique.
Yeah.
That I can say. So it's a 2-year program. So when you sign up for, when you match, you sign up for both years. And so a little background just about Premise Health within itself. So Premise Health is an employer-based health system. So we have clinics and pharmacies all over the United States. So some of my clients, I'm currently at the BMW site here in Greer, South Carolina, or Greenville, South Carolina. But we also have many sites at Disney, Volvo, just different places that serve these big corporations. So my program, again, it's a 2-year program. So the first year, we're in a primary care clinic. So the first year, it's really that ambulatory care that really, really building on your clinical skills. So my first year, when I first started, I was nervous just for the fact that I'm just getting out of pharmacy school and I'm managing patients solo on my own. Providers are asking me questions. I'm like, what? Like, this was wild to me. So the first year was really about building those clinical skills, as well as we have an on-site pharmacy that we get to learn. We get like few like dispensing experiences, and a cool thing is we get to pick up as needed. So that's a very cool thing, especially as a resident. And then the second year, which I'm currently in right now, really builds upon those clinical skills, but I'm more on the administrative and leadership side. So this year, I do a lot of clinical and operational management. I work closely with BMW, as well as a lot of the higher ups within Premise Health, serve on P&T to several subcommittees, as well as I'm getting some informatics experience. I'm financing and budgeting, just a lot of the business sides of pharmacy that I honestly wasn't even aware of until I stepped into my role as a PGY2. So it's I can sit here and talk about the things that we do all day, but very, very a unique program for sure.
Yeah, that sounds so cool and I'm always fascinated, and I think this is a strength of a PGY1, PGY2 combined program for health system management, to make sure that you have that foundational knowledge of clinical practice. Because I don't know how you're going to go on to be a big time director and pursuing all these initiatives and all these changes you want to make if you don't have a good frame of reference of what your clinical staff actually does. So I think it's good. Like if you're looking at a combined program in administration, it's not going to hurt you to have that solid foundation. I don't think it's ever going to hurt at all to know what the clinical pharmacist, what they're looking for, what they need, so that you're hunting those opportunities down appropriately. Something else that you said, I think, is important to also highlight for prospective candidates is that once you match to a PGY1, PGY2 combined program, you're done. you're
You're done.
you're done. You don't have to do the Hunger Games all over again at mid-year. You don't have to worry about securing a position for the following year. You just go right from one status to the next and you keep it moving. So I
Mhm.
think it's one of the biggest highlights or major points of combined programs. So with that in mind, I'm always curious to know, what do you think was your biggest adjustment from student pharmacist to PGY1, and then from PGY1 to PGY2? So, what were some of those things, or has it been the same thing, or you think that your adjustment from student to PGY1 was different from your adjustment from PGY1 to PGY2?
Yeah. So I would say definitely from student to PGY1, it's a big difference. As a student, especially P4 year, you're like a little puppy. You want to do everything. Like you're just so excited, but you still have someone overseeing you. You make all these recommendations, but you're not the final stop. Whereas PGY 1 year, I mean, right after training, right after being licensed, they just threw you in there. And so I just remember my first Saturday, because our clinic is open Saturday, so I see patients one Saturday a month. So my first Saturday by myself, I was staffing, and I was seeing my first patient without like my preceptor overseeing me, and I was so scared and so nervous, because I'm like, what if I mess up? What if they don't like my tone? What if my recommendation is wrong? But it's really that imposter syndrome that you really have, that PGY 1 year, because the knowledge, you've gotten through pharmacy school, you passed NAPLEX, you can read up on some guidelines, the information, but it's really just it's that confidence. And so I didn't have that confidence when I first started, PGY1. And I think that's pretty common with all PGY1s. That's just what the year entails. Like you really just built that confidence throughout the entire PGY 1 year.
Absolutely. I can tell you that was my biggest problem. It's just having that confidence and knowing that, like, I know what I know. Why do I have such a hard time actually going through that? Like, decision making. I'll collect all the data, I'll make all the assessment, and then actually pulling the trigger and saying, here's what I want to happen was terrifying. It's like,
Mhm.
because I think the first time you tell a nurse that they can crush a tablet and you see them walk off and they're going to go crush it, you're like, oh my God, they do what I tell them.
Yeah.
they they do what I tell them. Like if I tell them that this IV is compatible with that IV, they're going to go and run it.
Hmm.
It can be a really scary thing. I was lucky to just have a good support system and people that are just like, you know what you're doing, you looked into it, you verified it, you checked and triple checked, just go ahead and tell them. But I can definitely identify with that. I think from residency until to like being even in your PGY2 now, there are some questions you're not even looking them up anymore.
Yeah, no, and that's like this year, definitely more confidence. I feel like not I feel like I know what I'm talking about. You
See,
know,
see how
yeah, like I know what I'm talking about. I don't second guess myself, and don't get me wrong, I still look things up. I'm still, readings, making sure I'm staying up to date on guidelines. So never saying that I'm just like I'm a know-it-all, like know-it-all, but I'm very confident when I make that recommendation, and I know where to look for if I do have questions researching things. So I can say definitely PGY 2 year, more confidence this year. And then just with my role, my PGY 1 kind of leans up on me a little bit, which I love. And so, just overseeing my PGY 1, and she's like, she's like, tells me like, oh my God, you're so smart. And I'm just like, I don't think that I'm not saying I'm that smart. It's just really with the year, your experiences, PGY 1, you get out of it.
Absolutely. I feel that. I feel that 100%. We do have a question, and I think the gist of Naz's question is, I'm reading it as what is one thing on your application you added to be chosen for this particular program? And I think the heart of what she's getting at is, how did you set yourself apart and become attractive to this program? Which is a great question. Thank you for
Yeah.
that question,
No,
Naz.
that's a great question. So I'm gonna just be upfront and honest. In pharmacy school, your boy's GPA was not that great. I was not Rokai. I was not, I graduated. And so, but I was very involved. So I was involved in Kappa Psi. I was involved in PLS, SNAFA. So I was very involved in pharmacy school. So I felt like that helped out a lot because with my particular program, and I just find with talking to my friends, a lot of different programs, of course, you want to make sure that you would be able to, be clinically sound. Want to make sure that you are going to pass your NAPLEX.
Yeah.
The GPA isn't everything. I think what really set me apart, or hopefully what set me apart and got them to pull my application, really was my leadership experiences, as well as just having some of those positions and being involved, because the biggest thing, that with my program or a lot of different programs, is personality. I think that, clinically, again, we all got to pass NAPLEX. We all have to, we all got to research some guidelines and look things up, but personality can't be taught. And so really just making sure that you are being involved. I think when we're in pharmacy school, we get so stuck on just studying, which of course you need to be studying, you need to pass your exams, but also make those connections in your classroom, make those connections in your pharmacy school, get involved in your community. That's really a big thing that I feel that a lot of students kind of sleep on, because it's like, you need people skills, and you need to, especially if you're working with patients, and not even that, working with other pharmacists, working with your program director, working with your technicians, you need to be able to have those communication skills. And I feel like me being involved in pharmacy school really, really set that in stone. So when I actually interviewed with my program, I think we just all kind of just vibed on that, and they were, they liked that, I could speak on a lot of my leadership, especially with this kind of program. So I would say if you're applying to one of these type of programs, you want to make sure that you're at least involved in some type of organization and hold some type of position.
Absolutely. All of what you just said. I wasn't Rokai either. I went to a 3-year program, but I think that my application also, that was it. I was involved. I was heavily involved, and I diversified my CV tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
I made sure I had balanced APIs that could really, really show all of the different things I've seen so far, so that I can say, like, I've seen a lot of different practice settings, and this is why I'm choosing to do this. But the leadership portion of it, same, SNAFA, Kappa Psi, APHA, ASB, ASHB, SSHB. It's just every opportunity that I got to be able to go either represent myself or the school, I didn't say no. I went. Even statewide, like with Maryland Pharmacists Associate, like I think people overlook their state associations
Mm-hmm.
as these amazing hubs that could really offer them great opportunities as well. So I don't want you to like just think it has to be APHA or ASHB, but your state association is a phenomenal starting point to helping plug you into some amazing resources and building your network locally and on. Like everything Ryan is saying is just so dead on. So if you're a P1, a P2, there's still time to get in and get involved, co-chair. Like, it's not about being president of everything, guys. Please believe me when I tell you that.
Mhm.
It's just whatever position you're occupying, start something, do something, organize something so you can speak for. And I could see how that was a significant thing for you, because you're saying you want to do a health management and leadership residency. So having those skills that could easily transfer into that, I'm sure were very helpful.
Yeah, building those skills and, like you said, organizing. And honestly, I feel like that learn conflict management. That's where you learn it at. You learn it there, because that's what they want to know. Everybody gonna have conflict, so but how are you gonna manage that? And some people just don't. They don't have those experiences, or they haven't. So when they get to that conflict in residency, it's a big deal.
Yes. That's so true. Like, how do you, you probably, like, if you've never had to settle conflict between your financial vice president and communication vice president, how are you going to settle conflict between two of your co-residents so you guys can still move forward as a team? So
Yeah.
they don't, like, these interview questions are not just pulled out of thin air, but they're literally looking for transferable skills that you'll be able to employ as a resident. I love that. I love that you raised that issue. Like, if you've never handled the conflict, your first one is going to be this earth-shattering event for you.
Hmm. It
Yeah.
is.
What has your year been like so far? Now in your PGY2, like, what did you start off right with? Because you're in the same place.
Hmm.
Always curious about what that transition period, from being the PGY1, where it was clinically focused, into your actual functional area of focus.
Yeah. That transition. The transition is more the first. I would say the first few months, well, the first at least 2 months. I'm still pretty heavy clinical because I was still having to cover a lot of the scheduling, just because we got to get our PGY1 trained, and really overseeing my PGY1. That was a big thing for me, because sometimes I wanted to jump in and do it, and I'm like, no. She has to learn. She has to make her own recommendations. She has to do her own thing. So that was something different. But and it's crazy because it's like, and I felt the same way. I'm like, how will my PGY 2 year be different? I'm in the same place, but I like my preceptors, my managers, providers, the medical director. They really do come to me with more business things, like conversations that I weren't involved in my PGY 1 year. Now I'm being involved in, like, quarterly reporting. Just different, like managing the formulary, like things I was just oblivious of my PGY 1 year. Now, like I'm really heavy focused in, and they're asking my opinions on it, and I'm like, oh, okay. My opinion. All right.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I think that's really, really great too. So, like, how many PGY1, to give prospective candidates an idea about your program? How many PGY1 positions do you guys have available?
So at my site, only one. So we recruit one every year. So on site, it's always one PGY1, one PGY2. But we do have another site. It's Premise Health in University of South Carolina, but it's with Southwire,
Okay.
and it's it's in Carrollton, Georgia, so right outside of Atlanta.
Got
And there's a PGY. There's also a 2 year program there. So that's my co-resident as well.
Gotcha. Will you be a mid-year?
I will be a mid-year.
Okay. Will you guys participate in the showcase?
Yes, we will be at the showcase.
Okay, great. I'm asking all these questions. I know the people want to know. They want to know. Well,
Yes, we will be there.
okay, so they'll have an opportunity to catch you at the showcase. You'll be there. Will your other co-residents at the other sites also be there?
Yep, we'll all be there.
Okay, this is great.
Mhm,
So they can have an opportunity to kind of gauge from all of the different sites as well.
mhm.
Okay, great. So now, one of the things that I always want to know is, how did you decide the health systems management was going to be the lane for you? How did that come about?
Whew. Honestly, I'm just tell you a little. So I'm one when searching for residency, I was one that probably around this time, October, I was going kind of back and forth, like, residency, fellowship, going to just start working. So I would say about October is when I realized, okay, I'm doing residency. So I was always torn just with my I had an administrative rotation at the VA in New Orleans. I'm also a graduate from Xavier University, Louisiana. I had to throw that out there.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah,
HBC.
yeah. But I had a rotation or administrative rotation at the VA, and I was like, okay, this is cool. I like this. But also I had AmCare rotation there, as well as I was a Walgreens pharmacist, pharmacy intern during pharmacy school. So when searching for residency, I was like, well, I don't know if I want to do community. I don't know if I want to go AmCare, or if I don't know if I want to go straight admin. So I did apply for programs. And then phase one. So phase one, I applied to 3 different programs. Well, actually, I applied for like 15 programs, to be honest, but I got interviews for 3 programs. And so I ranked those 3 programs, and one was a health administration leadership, one was straight ambulatory care, and one was just a community-based residency. I didn't match phase one. Things just didn't work out. No, I didn't match phase one, which worked out for me.
Yeah.
So I was actually kind of going back and forth. I was like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not putting myself out there to do it again, go through phase two. But then my support system really, really pushed me to just go ahead and try again. I was like, okay, what do I have to lose? But a few more $100 for applications. But so I actually. So my program director right now, Dr. Patty Fable, she sent me an email because they didn't match either. So she sent me an email because I was on their site because at that point it was that virtual mid-year. So I was on there. I ran across it. I'm like, oh, okay, this sounds cool. I ran across it, and I guess it alerted them. So she sent me an email, and I was like, I don't know, South Carolina. Like, I'm from Houston, Texas, and I went to school in New Orleans, and I'm like, South Carolina, I don't know. But I went ahead and I sat through, like they had like this webinar. I sat through and I was like, okay, this sounds really cool. And the people seem really nice. And so I just went ahead and applied. And I actually applied to 3 other places as well. So I interviewed at 3 places again for phase two, awesome places as well. But when I interviewed here, the vibes were there. And then they had the AmCare. They had that kind of community portion that I liked still. Also, it was administrative and leadership. So it was like 3 of the things that I wanted,
Yes.
all in one program. So it
Yes.
really worked out, and I matched. So I was like, it worked out for me.
Oh,
It worked out.
it
So
worked out beautifully.
yeah, so the journey was, and I think a lot of people are, especially like, I think like, P2s and P3s, even P4s, you're set on one thing, but then, things happen, and then you fall where you need to fall at. You fall where you perfectly need to be. And so just trust the process.
Yeah, see, I was getting ready to ask you what's your wisdom from your journey, Ryan, and you went right in with it. You just went right in with it. It's so true. Like, and this week in particular, so many people that I've talked to that are in residency program, some of the people are in executive fellowships at ASHB, and another one is in a residency program in Buffalo, New York. They didn't match at phase one. And I think this is a very, very, very powerful thing for us to share with the up and coming prospective candidates, or even the P1s and P2, because I think everybody is so fixated on the match at phase one. They don't realize that there's a whole phase two where the possibility is still real, and the program of your dream is literally still in there waiting for you. So I'm so grateful that you shared that, because I think more people really, really need to hear that not matching does not mean the end of it
Mhm.
at all. There's so many people that get picked up in the scramble that go on to do phenomenal things. Like, when you get your residency certificate, this is the analogy I always give them. The certificate doesn't say on it that you were a phase two or a scramble match. It
Exactly.
looks exactly like the way the person that was at phase one. You could put it side by side, every single thing looks the same. It's just your story and part of your journey that you didn't match at phase one or you didn't match at phase two. And I promise you that sharing that with student pharmacists, it's very empowering to them because they're looking at you as this person, like, I want to get where they are. So hearing that you were unsuccessful at first trial could really be like that thing that could kind of put some air under their wings, like, oh, it happens to everybody. I think I'll be fine. Thank you for trusting us and sharing that with us, Brian. Um, so you're going to be at mid-year. I'm like trying to cover all my bases. We know how many positions you have. You're going to be at mid-year. I can't wait to meet you in person. I'll come visit. I'll
Yeah.
visit at your booth.
And
And
I'm presenting as well. So I'll be at the, presenting my research project. So
okay, I'm going to come also. Poster and kind of I'm gonna grill you. I'm telling you right now. I'm just gonna be like, well, how come this and how come that? But it'll be really nice to meet you in person. And thank you. I'm very, very grateful to all of you who take time out of your evening after a long day, I'm sure of it, to engage with me and engage with the students and the prospective candidates. I know that they appreciate it. Before I volunteer your information out there, is it okay for anyone to reach out to you who wants more information or wants to connect with you?
yeah, reach out to me through LinkedIn, or I could throw my email in the chat. Is the chat? I could throw it in.
Yeah,
Okay, I could throw my email in the chat.
absolutely. So I always tell you guys this little caveat. He is a resident, which means that his calendar is probably booked all the time and super busy. So if you've emailed, please be patient. um, and I want to believe that they're all of the residents, they're busy, but they're super gracious and will get back to you. But do exercise a little bit of patience because they do have other things going on as well. Thank you so much for your time, Ryan. And I wish you all the best. And I can't wait to see all the cool stuff you'll do next. And I'll see you in December. You can count on it.
Yeah, I'll be there.
All right. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye.